Good morning. It's the 17th of February 2021. World still balked. So I hope everybody else out there is surviving and doing well. And yeah, just out in the woods again. It's raining and muddy. So that'll slow me up a little bit as I wander around, but it was important to get out. Need your exercise. There's your 5 E's. Exercise, entertainment, education, environment and expression. So yeah, this is TUFA. Expression and exercise. And I've already sort of tidied up my house a little bit. So I've got 3. Been entertained by a very good video conversation between Amanda Palmer and Henry Rollins, 2 of my favourite people. And yeah, kind of leads into today's talking point, which is creativity. You know, life's a bit shinier if you get to do something creative. Yeah, so, you know, getting some creativity into your day will really improve how you feel about everything. It's a bit like, you know, making a start. There are all these things that sort of fire off your dopamine and serotonin and stuff like that. And sometimes creativity can just be solving a problem, building a thing to make other things easier, repairing a thing. It's kind of weird. But just fixing something is an act of creativity these days. So yeah, I was watching a video between Henry Rollins and talking with Amanda Palmer. As I said, 2 of my favourite performers of all time. And yeah, so and they had some very different styles of coming at their creativity. I think Amanda Palmer is more drawn by sharing, and Henry Rollins is more driven by anxiety and anger, which, when you consider Henry Rollins' childhood, you can understand that. And yeah, just not even wanting to fit in, but just wanting to explain how they're feeling. So I said, you know, I would definitely suggest you check out Amanda Palmer's book, The Art of Asking, and largely any and all of Henry Rollins' spoken word. I mean, I'm a huge fan of the music that Amanda Palmer makes as well, but I think those 2 actually have a really interesting take on what it is to be creative and how you would go about it. But generally speaking, you know, the crux of it is just do it. You know, the first stage of, you know, feedback and feeling good about creativity is that you did something for yourself that didn't exist in the universe before you started. And whether it works or not, whether it was a learning experience or whether it's a finished product or a finished piece of media or a piece of art or music or something like that, is largely irrelevant. You set out to do a thing, you did a thing, you learned a few things, move on, do it again. You know, and it's important to note that what time of day you do it can have a factor on it. You might be more creative in the mornings, you might be more creative in the evenings. It might be the sort of job that's got a lot of very tedious steps in it, but at the end of it, what you're looking forward to, the dopamine hit and the serotonin, the expected satisfaction level, are what drives you. So yeah, so definitely check out The Art of Asking and Henry Rollins' stuff, especially Get in the Van, which is a great intro to the sort of the mindset of Mr. Henry Rollins. He's an interesting guy. He's coming at it from a very working class perspective, which I like, because that's how I come at what I do. That's why I do my DJ bits and try to improve, you know, my techniques for doing stuff. And then there's The War on Art, which is, I think, Stephen Pressman. It'll be corrected underneath here. Is a really good book about fighting the inertia before you sort of say, I wish to create. And then you sit there slapping yourself on the back. You know, and it's very easy to fall into this, the worst trap of all is you buy a thing and you go, right, I have bought a thing, like a set of shelves from IKEA, or, you know, the ingredients for a really great meal, or the materials to do up your house, or most notably in my case, when I was younger, Warhammer 40k miniatures, and then they sit unpainted, they don't do anything. Because you haven't, but your brain is telling you that you've done a thing, when in fact all you've done is gone out and bought the thing or ordered it online. and there's a kind of dopamine feedback or a serotonin feedback going, oh, I am satisfied, all is good, and it will, you know, and you get your fix. Now it's very easy to get your fix by buying other bits. I got into buying camera bits for the longest time and then rarely using them, so there's nothing wrong with that if you've got the resources available, but there comes a time when you've got to go, I need to do better, you know, I need to use some of this stuff, which is what I'm getting into now. Now I'm finally getting the time to sort out the studio. More and more things become apparent that, oh, I've got that, I should really use that. And you sort of put a moratorium on spending, so I've stopped spending money on camera equipment so that I can focus on using the equipment I have, the lenses and the cameras and stuff like that. So yeah, if you've got the toys to be creative, you should sort of stop at some point and say, do I now have enough toys? Should I not start creating? So as I've slowly been grouping stuff together, I've got a collection of musical instruments, loads of pens and paper, and maybe sort of like Harlequin's list of things to buy that you should keep in your visual range at all times. Maybe you should have a list of things I no longer need because I have enough of them. So I have enough camera equipment, I have enough musical instruments, I have, you know, but it's always, you know, the temptation to buy that thing that's like a little bit better, even though you aren't using the thing that you have to its utmost usefulness. But again, you know, like the Carpenter's song, doesn't matter if it's not good enough for anyone else to hear, just sing. And just paint, or just draw, or just film. You know, in the act of filming, you'll get better at your craft. If you wanted to get into film, I recommend D4 Darius on YouTube, who does a 30-day film school with all the practical exercises he learnt in film school. So yeah, go and check that out if that's your thing. But for whatever creative thing that you want to do, there's going to be someone that's happy to teach you. I mean, that's the great thing about the internet. You can learn how to do almost anything by watching a couple of videos and then doing it for yourself. But it's the creative stuff that is the most rewarding. You know, that thing where you make a thing, or you draw a thing, or paint a thing, or sculpt a thing, or anything like that. It's good for you. But remember, golden rule, you can create whatever you like these days, from feature films to television to albums of artwork, to 3D printed sculptures. You can do whatever you want, you know, and what you've got to do when you start is know who you're doing it for, and you're doing it for yourself to start with. And then the bonus comes along when somebody else likes it, even one person. But you can unshackle yourself from the belief that you're not good enough by understanding that you can do anything as long as you don't expect payment or adulation for doing it. Just do it to get that, you know, that creative urge sorted, you know, to get that artistic need out. And all the best musicians would still be musicians even if they weren't famous. Just knowing that they were, you know, they could express themselves and shown a level of dedication to themselves, to a craft. So yeah, so I guess that's all I've got to say. There is another blender segment in this video. So if you're going to do something creative that needs you to sit there for a while, or you're going to write, or you're going to compose something, or you're going to work on something, one of the best snacks you can have is raw veggies and hummus. So we're going to cut away to that and play with the blender a bit more. So speak to you in a bit. Right, so welcome to the making DIY hummus. So all we're going to need is some chickpeas. I'm going to use some garlic, some sun-dried tomatoes and some pepper, and that's it to make my Italian flavoured not hummus, because I'm not using tahini, because it goes off and it sets like a rock, and it's just like adding concrete to it. I also might add some flax seeds, because flax seeds are always good for you. So the method couldn't be simpler. Open your can of chickpeas. I really hate these can openers, but it's longevity. These can openers last forever, even though they give you a razor sharp cut. Tip away about half the liquid. Put it into your pot. There we go. And this is why I organise my kitchen. I can find a fork whenever I want one. I'm going to put in two of these sun-dried tomatoes. Maybe a little bit of the olive oil that they come in, just for flavour, you understand. A little teeny tiny squeeze of garlic. Well, that was a big squeeze of garlic, but I like garlic. Add some pepper. Obviously all of these ingredients are optional. The chickpeas are the only thing that make it. And that's what chickpeas are made from. They're made, you know, that's what hummus is made from. It's chickpeas, tahini, lemon juice. But you don't need all that, because really hummus should be called lemon and sesame hummus rather than anything else. So yeah, that's everything in. Take one of your blady bits. And you're making about half a pound of hummus at a time. So that's already like 3 supermarket tubs of hummus. Hummus will cost, chickpeas will cost you about 55p per can for about 400 grams, and all the other stuff should just be lying around in your kitchen. So here we go. Just give it a little shake. Ideally, nothing rattles when you're done. And if you're using canned chickpeas, some of those chickpeas will remain whole. Well, that's pretty much it. Just blend it until it's relatively smooth. And there you go. That's your flaxseed, tomato and garlic and pepper hummus. So bear with me and I shall show you a serving suggestion. So there we are. We've got hummus with what restaurants like to call crudité, which is usually carrot sticks and celery sticks. And carrots and, you know, one celery stick is going to cost you a couple of pence. There's about 25 cents per bunch of celery. Carrots are the same, so you've probably spent about 60p on the equivalent of 3 tubs of hummus that you might buy from the supermarket. You do the maths, and it's probably better for you because it doesn't have preservatives in. And I've shown it here in a clip box because once you feel like you've had enough hummus for the day, you can keep it for a day or so in the fridge. So a clip box is the ideal way to serve it if it's just for you. Perfect creativity food. It's cheap, nutritious. The celery will use more calories to digest it than you're taking in, but it's delicious and vegan and all kinds of friendly. So enjoy. So, hope you enjoyed the blender segment on how to make hummus. A very cheap snack. It'll sit there for hours, doesn't get cold, and yeah, I like it anyway. Anyway, so thanks for watching. Do take care, and remember, end greed, end poverty, end hate, or we all die. Look after yourselves. Speak to you tomorrow.